Welcome, ranchers. Thank you to one of my ranchers who sent an email about my new Mindfulness with Marsha recording studio. Actually, it's just that I've decluttered and worked on my office to simplify it and make more space for what I really care about and feel better about doing work. And so instead of pulling that blind or that divider around me like I used to kind of block out all the clutter, I'm just leaving it right where it normally is, unless I'm using it in another place in the building, of course. And yeah, this is where I'm going to be meeting you for Mindfulness with Marsha. So today, I've got a confession to make. Being normal is really overrated. You know, sometimes we forget that we don't have to do what everybody else is doing, and we label what everyone else is doing as normal, and we think that we need to be normal. And we think that there may be something wrong with us when we aren't doing the normal things, that somehow we won't be as happy or successful or loved if we aren't being the normal version of human. Or we think other people might think we aren't normal. And that can feel, well, scary. And it can pull down our self-confidence. You see, I tried normal, and honestly, sometimes I dip back into it as I'm often on autopilot, and we've talked about autopilot and how easily that is to slip into that with mindful living. But every time I do, though, I forget my heart. I forget what's most important to me. I forget my intentions. And I forget that I know what's best for me, and I really, truly get lost. But since deliberately working every day, and I do every day in mindful living, I usually now find my way back much quicker on my own, but sometimes I need a reminder. So if you're like me and need a reminder that knowing your heart and being exactly who you are is more important than being normal, here it is. I've put together 8 things that you don't have to do anymore, because being normal is overrated. And we'll tackle a few today and finish the list in the weeks to come. The first thing that you don't have to do anymore is say yes when you really want to say no. Saying yes while you're clenching your jaw and rolling your eyes and your gut starts to feel tense, that's being normal. Agreeing to do things that you don't want to do, you're not interested in, and that you don't have time, well, that's being normal. It also builds tremendous resentment, which eats up on you on the inside and prevents you from doing the things you actually want to do. If you don't want to do this normal thing anymore of just saying yes when you really wanted to say no, here's your way out. Say no thanks. I know, that's it. That seems so easy. When your heart says no, you say no. If saying no is hard for you, and quite honestly, it still is for me, practice with a friend or in front of the mirror. I'm not kidding. Sometimes it takes practice to kind of get down that personal phrase so it'll flow out naturally. Now, I'm not saying to be robotic with your response. No, thank you. No, be sincere and honest. Usually for me, my heart even wants to say yes sometimes, but I don't have the time. So I let the person know, check with me another time, a rain check perhaps, to see if I have the time then to give you 100% and truly say yes. Number 2, you don't have to save everything. Now, perhaps saving things isn't your problem. I have a friend of mine, actually a colleague, who I'm just amazed at the way that she really systematically and really without thinking does not save everything. She really can prioritize things. But the normal thing, the thing most of us do, is save everything. You save just in case. You save because you paid way too much. Little anxiety there, little oops. You save because someone gave it to you. You save because, well, your kids might want it. And you save because, well, it's really not hurting anything, just being in the garage. What if instead of that normal way, we save things because the things we save we really adore, and that these things truly add value to our lives currently, not in the past or possibly in the future, but currently. When everything is important, nothing is so, because by getting rid of all that stuff that doesn't matter, we'll be left with only what does. See, I have personally been working on decluttering for like 2 years now. It has been taking me a while. The older one gets, let me tell you, the more saved items we have. And the more the stuff pulls me away from being mindful, because I have to take care of all that stuff. I also realized somebody might have been in a teaching or a reading, but I realized that if I'm always thinking about the past and what these past things mean to me, or I might use this in the future, I'm really not in the present moment. I'm living in the past or the future, and that's not mindful living for me. So how do you unsave all of those normal excuses waiting in the wings? Well, here are some ideas that have truly helped me. If you're saving because it was so expensive, I feel guilty. Saving something because you paid a lot of money for it, well, it'll only ensure that you keep paying. You'll pay with your money, your time, your attention, your emotion. Your stuff always needs more stuff. It's really weird. Stuff can collect other stuff. And then cleaning, organizing, managing, and thinking about your stuff takes time. You know, I'm a really organized stuff person. I even color code some of my bins. But I spend all this time organizing, managing stuff. And you pay with emotion too by holding on to the past. Sometimes by punishing yourself for those old habits, like, why did I pay for this stuff? Why did I spend so much? You pay with guilt and anger and indecision. The answer is simple: let it go. Now, it's simple, but I'm telling you, for 2 years, it hasn't been easy. Let go of the item and all of the costs attached to it. You've paid enough. Something that's helped me a little bit is to realize that the blessing that expensive item did or didn't, that's really embarrassing, bring to me, allow that blessing to be in someone else's life. That's where the thrift store is so wonderful for ranchers. Give it to the thrift store so that they can sell it for a blessing for someone else. And it also benefits our kids and programs. Someone gave it to you. As a teacher, an educator, I have things from my very first year of teaching that someone gave me. If you received a gift from someone and you don't want to keep it, you don't have to. The gift part already happened, and the intention was at that moment in which it was given. Maybe it was congratulations or get well or even Merry Christmas. You don't have to hold on to stuff to receive the gift. You see, moving forward, if you prefer not to receive the stuff part of gifts, have gentle conversations with people you love and ask them if you could give to each other differently. This is something that I've been working on when I realized that I just really had too much stuff. Suggest getting together for a meal or donating to a charity you both support, or giving another experience, or skipping the stuff altogether. That can even be a beautiful gift. Your kids might want it. I've heard this over and over again from people that your kids don't want it. And if you don't believe me, ask them. If your adult children want your stuff or their childhood memorabilia, give them a pickup deadline. It's not your responsibility to save it all for them. For your little ones, they won't want to wear your clothes or use your furniture when they're all grown. Save a few sentimental items for them if you'd like. Give it to them when they're old enough to appreciate it, and let them decide if they want to hold on to it or let go. In the meantime, just love them like crazy either way. And don't be offended if they just don't want your stuff. Well, it's not hurting anybody anything anyway, sitting there in the garage. This is one of my favorite reasons to procrastinate decluttering and letting go. I mean, I have all this stuff in the garage all organized and in bins and sometimes color-coded. I realize, though, that I want more. Instead of, this isn't hurting, it has to be helping in some way. When you find yourself thinking it's not hurting anyone or anything, ask, but is it helping anyone or anything? And last but not least, another one of my favorite, well, just in case. You know, I don't know if it's because I'm an educator and it's like, we'll have a dress-up day and I want those clothes from the 70s. I don't know what it is, but the just-in-case excuse for holding on is a messy combination of fear and procrastination. We hold on because we aren't quite ready to let go, but we rarely use or enjoy the just-in-case stuff we keep. Take a look in the back of your closet, in your junk drawer, under the sink, or in boxes in the garage or attic, and it's clear that just in case, well, just in case often means never. Just in case doesn't just apply to clutter and things in our home. What else is going on in your life that you're holding on to out of fear? When I began, because it happened right at the beginning, but when I really started letting go of my just-in-case clutter, little pieces of fear went with it, and it became easier to let go of other areas of my life. The other thing you can let go of and stop being normal, apologizing when you're not sorry. Let's stop apologizing for things that we don't need to be sorry for. Folks, it's exhausting and often quite a reminder that we aren't good enough again. Here's a couple things we don't need to apologize anymore for that I'm thinking about. Let's start off with staying home. Maybe you like to stay home and yet we apologize somehow. How we're dressed. Apologizing for saying no. Apologizing for thinking differently, even when we're in meetings at work or even amongst friends or with spouses and family. How about apologizing for just being you? Apologizing for changing your mind. Or, I love this one, taking longer than like 3.2 seconds to respond to an email. And a really big one in self-care, apologizing for putting your health first. Self-care, that's a really important one that we often apologize for. See, we can be kind and loving without being sorry. Our hearts deserve that. So this week, start thinking about those 3 areas when you pause. Things that you don't have to be normal about anymore. Saying yes when you want to say no, saving everything, and apologizing for things that you shouldn't have to be sorry for. I'll pick this up and give you more reasons to not have to be normal next week. Until then, take pause, have some self-care,